So episode 2 of CKN versus WWE was meant to talk about how Roman Reigns didn't have to win the WWE Championship at Survivor Series 2015. It was a pretty good video, well thought out, was actually kind of taking the storyline and all the way up into WrestleMania, and then we learn about the Seth Rollins injury. And we know that there's going to be a tournament that's going to be set up for Survivor Series in order to crown a new champion. If this is news to you, then sorry to spoil it for you, especially if you're a Seth Rollins fan. Knee injury, going to be out 6 to 9 months. Definitely a tragedy, considering this was a title reign that, well, had its critics, but at its roots, he was doing everything that you're supposed to do as a heel. So within this tournament, we're not too sure, at this point in time at least, how many participants there are going to be, whether it's going to be 4 or 8, if there's going to be matchups that take place for qualification on Raw and SmackDown, or how this is exactly going to be set up. So instead of, hypothesizing about bracketology and things like that, let's just talk about a couple of the folks that probably will be in this, and whether or not they really need to win the WWE Championship either at this juncture or what they could potentially do if they happen to pull it off. So the obvious name that comes up first on this list is Roman Reigns, and this really is very dependent upon what the scheduled finish of the matchup at Survivor Series between Reigns and Rollins was meant to be. If Reigns was meant to go over in this matchup and become the new WWE Champion, then I wouldn't be very surprised, actually, if it happened to still happen that way, if it still end up in that direction. Simply because it was the plan that was already set in place. So in reality, as far as long-term goals or long-term plans are concerned, you've kind of already thought ahead with that, and you can proceed as normal. However, if that's not the case, if he was designed to lose this matchup at Survivor Series, then the book is opened a little bit more for interpretation. Reigns could still pull off this victory and still become the WWE Champion, but on a personal note, I really just don't think I still don't think he's ready. I think that he still needs to work a little bit more on his skills behind the microphone, as well as becoming a little less of a static wrestler and a lot more kinetic. He's one of those types that seems to only have a certain set of moves, and whenever it comes to kind of thinking outside the box a little bit and going a little bit deeper into the repertoire, it's not something that he's really able to do. Either that or he's just really being handcuffed by the Federation themselves. Another name that oftentimes comes up in these situations, these scenarios, is Dolph Ziggler. He's still a wrestler, he's still a participant that has a great following, and there are many people that will still pop, but the pops have been a little bit smaller. He's become relegated a little further down the card. He's not as much of that main title, that main event mainstay as he was roughly about a year ago, whenever at Survivor Series it was he, with the help of Sting, that was able to knock off Team Authority. However, it's also worth noting that during his World Championship runs, they were not exactly the greatest, but a trial with the big title would perhaps be something that would be a nice little pat on the back for him and give him the opportunity to run with it. And plus, as you're looking at it here, these first two individuals are both baby faces. So after having this long run with this heel champion, and who took the championship, by the way, from somebody who was originally really sort of designed to be a heel, but ended up being like this weird face tweener type thing that nobody quite understood, then yeah, it's something that seems to be a little bit of a long time coming. And along those same lines, we can also speak about Dean Ambrose. Ambrose, though, is currently, at least he looks like he's going to be embattled with Kevin Owens. Some people might actually suggest Owens should get an opportunity, and he may be in this tournament. It opens up a lot of strange doors where you could potentially have Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens' rivalry for the Intercontinental Championship spill over to this tournament, to the point where perhaps Dean Ambrose wants an all-or-nothing clause attached to the matchup, where the Intercontinental Championship would be on the line. That way you still have the title represented at the pay-per-view without actually having to keep these two off of this potential world title, WWE Championship quest. And what you could actually do to give Owens a little bit more of a heel credibility is have him deny that request and say that he's here solely for the WWE Championship, and Dean Ambrose being in the way is just an opponent to get to his ultimate prize. That way, you can have Dean Ambrose pull off the victory against Kevin Owens in a non-title format, keep that strap on Kevin Owens, and have Dean Ambrose focus his attention and potentially win the WWE Championship at Survivor Series. You see, in that way, it is actually being used as a launch pad for Dean Ambrose, who's been in the company a little bit longer and has been a bit more of a consistent worker. But Owens still has the opportunity to do great things with the Intercontinental Championship. And it's also a way to give Kevin Owens a nice little shine by saying, listen, you've only been in this company for less than a year, but we think you are good enough to be in this championship tournament for the WWE title, for the highest title in the land. Another name that will come up is Alberto Del Rio. However, he just came back, and to really hotshot it like that is a bit ridiculous. Let's see what he does with the United States Championship. It gets interesting whenever we get actually to some of the heels that are potentially on here, or the one tweener that is sort of the wild card, that being Brock Lesnar. One would really believe that Brock will be coming back for this pay-per-view and potentially will be the sort of the first in line in order to get this title back. It does open up a lot of different things because of Brock and Roman Reigns' fight at WrestleMania, which definitely seemed like if anybody was going to be able to take out Brock Lesnar, it was going to be Roman Reigns. So you could eventually build it where Roman keeps on trying, and then eventually, perhaps at WrestleMania here next year, does break through and does beat Brock Lesnar. Build up Roman Reigns as the underdog in the situation instead of the big dog, and then whenever he does get the victory over Lesnar, it actually gives the fans a reason to be cheerful about it and actually give him that applause and that big pop whenever the 3 count is finally had. Brock Lesnar getting the championship right now also could make a lot of sense, considering you could see a lot of these same contenders from this tournament then scramble to try to get back up into his face. And it does give the opportunity for these other names to sort of come to the forefront. Whenever you think about it, one of the best things that is going for WWE right now in this scenario is the fact that John Cena is on hiatus and I believe Randy Orton is injured. Those two being absent from this tournament is amazing, based on the idea that instead of going to a safe zone, going to a safe champion that the fans have seen over and over and over again to the point where they don't want to see it anymore, you now have the opportunity with this tournament to either further establish a star that has held the title before, in the case of a Brock Lesnar, but at the same time you have the potential to surprise your fans with a first-time champion. A first-time champion potentially like Bray Wyatt. Some may wonder why Bray Wyatt would be a good choice, considering he's been sort of away from the main event spotlight, unless you count his rivalry with Roman Reigns as main event caliber. It's really been more upper mid-card, but you get what I'm saying. But Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family have done something within the past week or so that nobody's been able to do, really. They have been able to take out both The Undertaker and Kane. So, traditionally in a build like this, you would have an unstoppable force like the Wyatt family run a little crazy on your shows and your broadcasts for a number of weeks or even a number of months, literally looking like an unstoppable force. And then you have the ringleader go after a babyface that is literally kind of doing everything in which they can to fight that numbers game, to fight that numbers battle, but in the end ends up a little bit short. Think about The Undertaker whenever he was in the Ministry of Darkness and going up against faces such as Stone Cold Steve Austin, and you kind of get my point. But Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family have kind of done that without having to go through all of that build. Instead, they've taken out 2 of the biggest dogs in the kennel and have done so on consecutive nights. And considering the theme of Survivor Series is 25 years of The Undertaker, since it's been 25 years since his debut in the WWE at Survivor Series, his pay-per-view debut, How ironic and how strange of a twist would it be? How fitting would it be that Bray Wyatt comes out on top at the end of the night? The new face of fear comes out on top on the night that is meant to honor the dead man, the old face of fear. It's kind of little ironic pieces like that that really do make some special moments. And plus, I still think that the crowd, if Bray pulled it off, would truly pop for it. Especially if the WWE was able to plan for the Wyatt family to do something very crazy and very screwed up directly after the title victory. But then we get to one of the strangest picks of them all. The one that, in most cases, may not make a lot of sense, but whenever you think about it, it kind of does. And that's Sheamus. Why Sheamus? Sheamus has been nowhere near this main event spotlight. Why would Sheamus even be in this? Well, because he's a former champion, and they have a spot to fill, and he and Triple H are kind of like that. But why does it make sense? He has the Money in the Bank briefcase. Why does he need to be in this tournament? Because he has the Money in the Bank briefcase is why he needs to be in this tournament. And I will explain. Sheamus having that briefcase makes a victory at Survivor Series to win the WWE Championship all the richer. It plays a very strange angle now, where the champion also possesses the briefcase. In no other scenario is this ever available unless the title has been vacated and the Money in the Bank briefcase holder also happens to win the title in the, whenever a vacancy occurs. So in this scenario, what happens is that Sheamus could have the strap, have the briefcase, go up against a big dog such as a Roman Reigns at, say, the Royal Rumble, after Reigns falls short against Sheamus at the next pay-per-view to end up the year, and then you have Reigns actually defeat Sheamus at the Royal Rumble, and while he is celebrating, while Reigns is celebrating in the ring, Sheamus pulls out the briefcase, cashes in Money in the Bank, and right as Roman Reigns turns after the bell is rung, wondering what's going on, gets bro kicked straight in the face, and Sheamus gets the pinfall 1, 2, 3, and gets the title right back. It's a rookie mistake. It shows that Roman Reigns, as a babyface, is excited. He's humbled by the fact that he got this championship. You're able to play that angle as opposed to it being for power or money or control. It's being for the fans, for humility, and, a great personal accomplishment, only to have it be taken away. It seems almost Daniel Bryan-ish a little bit, and you see how the fans responded whenever Daniel Bryan won the championship legitimately and was able to hold on to the championship at WrestleMania. So you chalk that up to a rookie error for Roman Reigns, have him go back and take on Sheamus, but you don't do it at a pay-per-view. You do it on an episode of Monday Night Raw. Why? Because eventually we'd be trying to set up a Shield triple threat match for the next WrestleMania, which was now going to have to be a Shield, Roman Reigns versus Dean Ambrose match, which that might even be too screwed up at this point to even have viability. The triple threat match idea was a really cool one. Man, did I like that. That triangle match would have been ridiculous. But at any rate, you do this on Raw for multiple reasons. First of all, you give the Raw crowd a rare title change of the biggest title that you have. And it's with Roman Reigns, who you are now establishing as a huge babyface, and he's starting to really get a lot of traction with the crowd. And second off, since you took away that initial elation, whenever he finally gets it again, he's now got 2 massive pops underneath of his belt, and that's going to ride him right into his first and opening defenses of the title. And he's literally going to be elevated because fans will lament of the fact that he lost the title so quickly. But then they will once again get that rebound pop for him gaining it back. And plus, giving the fans of Raw a rare title change will make the crowd excitable anyway. So those are just a couple of names that have been sort of thrown out. I'm sure that there are a few that I have missed. But Survivor Series, this tournament presents the WWE with many exciting options and opportunities for who's going to succeed Seth Rollins as the WWE Champion. It's going to be one that will also face a lot of criticism once it does take place. So this is one that the company is definitely going to want to do right. But in reality, the one thing that needs to be remembered by a lot of the fans is that while you might not necessarily support the decision right away, if a good storyline backs it up, or if something, truly memorable comes from it, then the decision was a good one. This isn't something that could easily be judged upon by the victory that occurs at Survivor Series. You can't merely say that Roman Reigns having, bloodline and some sway in the back is the reason why him winning at Survivor Series is a bad idea. In reality, it should be about his skills. It also shouldn't be stated that the obvious choice should be Brock Lesnar, considering he beat The Undertaker, so all these other folks are chumps. Maybe there's some way in which they can have him in there, but also not have him win. So really, whenever this happens, whenever Survivor Series occurs and a new champion is crowned, definitely think of what could potentially be. Think of the rivalries that could potentially manifest with this champion now being on top. And above all else, be excited considering we're about to enter into a new era of WWE history that is probably going to be with a champion that may not have ever held the title before. And hey, there were a lot of great stars that were there once, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, all of them, even John Cena. This is a great, great opportunity. Hopefully the Fed doesn't screw it up. I'm Cover Killer Nation. Leave your comments about who you think will win at Survivor Series, defeat the tournament. Hell, post who you think will be in the tournament. And I'll talk to you guys later, whenever once again we speak about the World Wrestling Entertainment, things they need to do, things they shouldn't do, and how things are going.